All right, in this section, we're going to go through primarily rides, but you can't really talk about the ride without talking about the clear. So we'll go through what is ride, what is a clear, and then we're going to again focus on primarily our Navy and Army ride, especially for this weekend. And then hopefully this season we'll get into a 10-man, which we'll use in special situations. I think that would be a really great ride to practice when we're maybe against a less skilled team. Maybe we're up by a lot, or maybe even we're down by a lot. Why not practice something that will help us get the ball back when we really need it? So what are rides and clears, right? We might assume that everybody knows what that is, but it's really simple. A clear is when the other team is trying to, or our team is trying to advance the ball from the defensive end of the field to the offensive end. A ride is the exact opposite. We are defending the clear. In youth, our goals are to simply slow down and stop a fast break on the other side. We're also trying to cause a turnover. So if we can get the ball on the ground, we can get an errant pass to go out of bounds, we get the ball back. And so this is a really important component of the game, because if we have the ball, they can't score. In high school, there's a little bit different rule, which is a timing rule that we don't have at youth. But the idea of this is there's 20 seconds to get the ball over the midline. If we can ride super, super hard and their time expires, we get the ball back. So yet another component to the ride that if it's done correctly, you get more chances to score because you'll have the ball more often. Rides. So again, there's lots of different ones. There's man, there's zone, there's 3-3 zones, and they're hybrids. We're going to be running kind of a hybrid. And the two rides that we'll primarily be talking about is the Navy, which is when the goalie has the ball, and Army, when it's an out-of-bounds ball. We take the shot, we don't back it up. They get the ball back, and now they've got to move that ball from behind their goal all the way into the offensive zone. It might be sideline. We threw the ball, didn't get a catch or a bad throw. It goes out of the sideline. Now they've got to, again, transition from their defensive zone into their offensive zone. So you'll see there we've got the end line clear, the sideline clear, and then we'll talk about short stick and long stick clears. There's a big difference there, and we'll play them different in Army. So goalie clear, that equals a Navy ride, meaning the goalie has the ball. This is the only time where we're going to go into a Navy ride. You will see situations where it might start as an end line or an Army ride. The ball's thrown to the goalie. We immediately fall into Navy. So keep in mind, Navy, it's very important that it's when the goalie has the ball. So what do we need to do this right? The attack. Now this is, you've got to be fast. You have to be aggressive. You cannot quit. I love watching college or even high school games where the attackmen ride so hard that they have to run off the field before they get off sides. Like, that's persistence, that's aggression, and that's what we need to be. Middies, you can't be lazy. LSMs, D middies, coaches, the big things to focus on there are the middies got to be fast. They have to match up with a midi, right? They've got to find the midi that was playing them, or whatever the case may be, and get on that kid. The middies have to recognize the substitution. The coaches also have to recognize the substitution. As they're getting their LSM, potentially their D midi, off the field, our middies have got to go with them. We got to watch what happens there, because that's an easy clear if we don't pay attention to the substitution. And then middies cannot stop. They cannot stop until the ride is over. Defense. This is locked down man D on the attack. They cannot look open. I know that some of you are super athletic and you think you can jump the ball and be the hero with the interception. That's not what we want. I know it looks great. I know it happens from time to time for some people more than for others, but we don't want the goalie to even think that those attackmen are open. We can't play off of them. We can't play soft, right? If we're more athletic than the guy then we're covering, we want to be between the ball and our man. We're shutting off that pass to the attack. If we know that maybe we're a little bit slower, maybe we're a lot bigger than the guy we're guarding, we might want to just get behind them so that they don't get sneaky and run to the goal, and there's a nice big lollipop pass from the goalie to an attackman, and it's a one-on-one. you're going to feel bad if that happens. And last but not least, defense, we're going to know if you play soft or if you don't cover your man because an attackman is going to get a pass. So none of those are acceptable in a tough lockdown ride. Okay, just to show you a couple examples, this is number 2 Virginia this year being eventually beat by number 9 Syracuse. I think that if you watch enough of the footage of this team, of this game, you'll see that Syracuse just rode super hard. And this is one of the examples where they rode, I would say, typical ride. You'll see the attackman just throw a stick, try to get a lucky stick check in, but he didn't hustle. And so Virginia actually gets this
25 plus years. And
we'll see a shot. I wanted to show you the shot. That's blocked by the goalie. You'll see that the Poles attempt to advance the ball into their offensive zone. The attackman plays soft and they get it over. So
it's voting in terms of the goal celebration.
Okay, so we see the shot.
And
the long pole just sets it in the crease. We're going, in our example, we would immediately fall into Navy. Let's see what happens here.
And Carolina didn't like it. At the time, Coach Dave Klarman didn't like it. I think he refused to play.
Long pole has the ball.
Syracuse in the regular season again, and the rest is history.
They kind of get beat by a shorty, so a midi should have been here in our example.
Klarman and
watch, he's got a great line, right? He's running upfield so he can play back down, but watch his effort.
Carolina's defense, because that was my freshman year.
That was weak. He still had a good 10 yards to fight that guy. He had a great approach. He overplayed him, got one little stick check.
I will say, I understand.
All right, here's a great example of their ride. Now, again, this isn't going to be exactly what our ride looks like, but what's happened is Syracuse has turned the ball over due to a moving pick. You're going to see Virginia pick the ball up. What I want you to focus on is look at how these attackmen fight to the end.
Whistle against Syracuse, so Virginia gets it. A couple of things if Virginia's going to get back into this game. One, they've got to be better clearing, and two, they got to start winning some faceoffs.
Syracuse's ride has looked.
So I'll see if I can't get more film on this game. If you have the chance to watch it, it's on YouTube, Virginia versus Syracuse, and just pay attention to how the attackmen ride. It's brilliant. All right, so we're going to talk about the Navy ride, but first we have to kind of understand the clear, right? So I'm going to show you that like kind of a typical clear. So the first step in a clear, and this is all happening simultaneously, but what's happening is we're getting banana cuts from our defense. Why banana cuts? Historically, if we ask them to run straight to the sideline, they're going to end up over here. So they're banana cutting so they can stay behind the goalie. They end up level with the goalie, and they're acting as support. So they're playing out wide. If the goalie's in trouble, he's going to send the ball one way or another. Now, just a little point. Goalie's typically going to throw the ball this way. If he's a right-hander, he's going to be more comfortable throwing over here if he's a lefty. Something to pay attention to. This other D is going to scream opposite bench side up to this area, typically. This is what they call a defensive L break on the clear. So we've got an outlet here now, we've got an outlet here, and then we're kind of stretching up here and have an outlet here. Now, the issue with this guy is if he's not well coached, if he gets the ball, he's not sure he can cross this line, right? This is midfield. He's been coached not to cross that ever. And so better coached defensemen will wait for a midi to stay back and then go over on the clear. But at any rate, this is a defensive L break on the clear. This is that LSM. He's running out for a substitution. This is where I said coaches, middies, you have to pay attention to this guy. What we don't want is, and you'll see it here in a minute, two things that happen. One, the LSM is going to just perch right here. This guy may be covered. These guys may be locked down, and the goalie just sends it to the LSM who's off to the races. Or we'll see a substitution come in, and the middies just parked right here waiting for that pass as well because our middies got confused and didn't watch the substitution box. So that's a coaching and a midi thing. On this break, 9 times out of 10, you'll see these middies just start streaking. They're trying to get open. They may come back to the ball. Middies, your job is to lock them down. There we go. All right, so here's that substitution. We have to watch out for this on the sidelines. If we see a middie stepping in, they may be on this side. At this point, they're still on sides. They may come over here and right to the goalie. So we want to make sure that that's a really crisp exchange, and we're watching. Like high school, probably some of the teams will play soon. They may even have this guy hanging out until we're all too focused on what's happening out here, and then he just steps in and gets the ball. We'll see. Okay, so attack. What are attack going to do? They're the Bulldogs. Your job is not only just to score. This is your time to work and actually earn that position. So they're going to go into, and this is why I said earlier, kind of a hybrid. This is a 3-3 zone, okay? And so our attackmen fall into a 3-3 zone. Middies, what are you doing? Well, we talked about it. We're locking off. So these middies are not allowing them to even look open to the goalie. The goalie's nervous. He's got to get the ball up. We don't want these guys to be even close to being open. And this guy seems to do a good job, and he saw what happened at the substitution box. He may be just watching this guy. Okay, so let's talk about what happens. Let's just get these middies out for now. We'll say that they all broke over the 50 and they're looking for the ball. Now, in our Navy ride, what we're doing is we're watching the goalie and what they do. What we're really hoping for is this goalie to get a little nervous. He's going to come out of the cage, and we are not going to attack within the restraining box. We're going to let them have all the time in the world. Now, this is where in high school, especially some less better coached kids, they will spend a lot of time down here thinking about how they're going to break up and get through this zone. And they'll waste their 20 seconds, and then we get to pick the ball up. So in this case, what we need this guy to do is realize whoever this attackman is, you got to be smart. You got to realize you're splitting these two guys. Now, what we want to take away is the furthest pass. And so if the goalie comes out, you're going to shade up to this guy just a little bit. And what that means is this goalie looks at this and says, well, I don't think that's where I want to go. We're not doing anything. We're just kind of waiting. If the ball comes over to this guy will be a little bit higher, we're going to shift just a tad. We're going to kind of split these two guys, and we're going to split these two guys. Why are we doing that? Well, that's because we want to be able to jump on this ball. If he gets nervous, throws the ball back, we really simply just readjust. This guy might come a little further off and go back to splitting these two. Ball comes over here. We're prepared to meet him a little bit above this restraining box. We're shifting over here, and maybe, again, we're taking away this long pass, and so we're keeping in front of him. So what we want to eventually happen is this guy gets a little nervous. He might bring the ball even up higher. These guys are all staying in a line, supporting each other, and this guy gets brave, and he makes this pass. Now, hopefully we get an interception. If we don't get an interception, hopefully this pass ends up over here. We get the ball back. Again, he gets nervous. He throws the ball over to this guy. And defense is trained on a clear to change planes. So if everybody starts shifting down to this guy, they want to change this plane by making this pass. We're betting this guy can't catch the ball very well. We're betting this guy can't throw the ball very well. And we get a ball out of bounds. So we're staying in our zone. We're staying tight. We're letting these guys play. We're not going to go after the goalie until, in this example, if he makes an athletic move and he comes up into this area, now we're going to play him. We're going to play him hard. This guy may come in, try to, at least we're watching this guy. Depending on where this guy is, if he moves up, we're going to stay with him. If this guy moves up, we're going to take away this pass here and see what happens, right? We're going to let these two guys play, see who comes up with the ball. This guy pushes up. We have to be really careful here because this guy has the tendency of like, I'm going to go play him. We get a nice little rainbow pass. This guy's off to the races. So ball comes over here. As we showed you earlier, we shifted. We're leaving the furthest pass open. So if this guy starts coming up, we're looking at playing him here. Ball comes back into the middle. We're going to readjust, maybe play off this guy just a little bit. This is the most important defenseman, though. I've seen guys get suckered in. The ball comes over here. He's like, I get to play him. And it's just a little, like I said, rainbow pass, and the guy's off to the races. And this is too hard. Now, you guys can do it if we're shifting really well, and this guy's all shifted over here. If he attacks here, as long as we cut this off, it's safer for this guy, this attackman, to lock him off. This guy go and play that ball, and attack shifts over, leaving this longest pass open. Okay, let's talk about the Army ride. So the Army ride is different because this is an out of bounds, either end line or sideline play. The ball's gone out of bounds. They're bringing it back in bounds, and they're going to transition from their defensive side to their offensive side. Now, what we have to do is we have to be, as an attackman, we have to be fast. We have to be aggressive. Again, we can't quit. We're not going to quit till the 50-yard line. We must identify if they're using a shorty, probably a midfielder, or if they're using a long pole to inbounds the ball. You have to be able to recognize that, and you have to be able to communicate that to everyone, to include, most importantly, the midi, who should be covering the shorty if it's a shorty on the ball. Basically what they're doing, they're going to give it to their biggest, baddest dodger. I've lost games for this exact reason. They're going to give it to their biggest, baddest guy, and he's going to human clear the ball all the way up the 50. You've got to make him pay. If it's a shorty, we're going to see a double team. If it's a long pole, the attackman, you're going to play him one-on-one. This is a no questions asked. You have got to lock down the goalie. I cannot stand when people play soft on the goalie and the goalie gets a pass from a long pole who's a little uncomfortable because an attackman's beating on him, and now we have completely defeated our Army ride. X, whoever it be, locks down the goalie. No questions asked, or you will sit down. Just kidding. Middies, you got to identify if it's a long pole or short pole. If it's a shorty and there's not a midi and an attackman there, that means one of our middies is not doing his job. If it's a shorty, we double the ball with a midi and the attackman. If it's a long pole, midi, find your midi, lock them down, no different than the Navy ride. Defense, you're locking down. You don't want, again, an easy pass. You don't want your attackman behind you. Don't play soft. Do not let a pass go to your man. Okay, let's see what happens here. In this example, we're in offense. We make a dodge down the wing. We beat our guy. We take a pass. This guy's cheated up here. This guy's starting to cut across, let's just say, and the ball goes out of bounds. And this guy happens to get the ball. Okay, we are our Army clear. They're going to give this pole the ball over here. We've identified, guess what we've identified? We've identified that a long pole is on the ball. We talked about our attackman and this midi. Nope, sorry, I lied. This attackman is going to go one-on-one. This attackman is going to lock off the goalie as he comes back here. It's going to be in the crease. And this defenseman, we're probably going to be looking at him right around in here, right? He wants to carry the ball. We don't want to give him an easy outlet. We do want to force the longest pass here, which is a bad, maybe a terrible pass, depending on how well that guy can catch and throw. Middies are locking up on middies as the middies start to break. Again, we're watching the substitution box. If this guy leaves, we're going with them. If he stands there, we're with them. If a new midi comes on, an offensive midi, we're with them. So our hope is we're going to play him super, super hard. We're not going to let him go, and we're going to get the ball back. That's an Army ride with a long pole. We'll reset this real quick. Okay, here we go again. Ball's up top. We step in, we make a shot. It flies over out of bounds. This guy runs and gets it. They start screaming, shorty, 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 because that's what we're going to end up doing. And one of their middies runs back to get the ball. Okay, we're in Army Ride. This goalie's going to probably come behind. We're locking him off hard. This attackman realizes it's a shorty. This defenseman is probably going to break over there. We may see a defenseman over here. It all depends. We may see a substitution. All this stuff is going on, but what matters to us most is if you look at these two guys, they got a place to go. This midi is covering this midi. This guy's out here in Nowhereville. And so, again, depending on where these guys go from a defensive standpoint, they're probably going to try to get the heck out of his way. But we need to recognize that that's a shorty and probably cut him off from the side with the attackman, push him this way towards out of bounds, and we're going to ride him here. We've locked off the goalie. He can't do a nice pass. Now, when the shorty is here, this is going to be one of their faster clearing middies. They're betting that they can beat our midi and they can beat our attack, and we're going to fight them all the way. So this is the Army Ride. If it's a shorty, we're going to double with an attack and a midi. Again, let these defenders do what they need to do. We're betting he's going to run it all the way up. Of course, middies are with middies. Defenses lock down the attack. We're watching potentially a substitution here. And this guy, again, wants to force the long pass. So he may look over here as an easy pass. If he's going to make the pass from the end line to the 50 and he's going to catch this ball, more power to him, especially if this defenseman knows that he can step over and run. Great for him. Again, here we're forcing this long pass. If he throws the ball all the way up here, we got to be prepared for that. If we're not locking off the goalie, or let's say we're soft, which I hate, and this happens, what do? We drop into our zone ride, right? The defensemen are going to adjust a little bit, and now, we'll play this midi if we have to. This midi could, stay on him. Lots of different things can happen, but all you need to know is if we don't do a good job here, one, it's very apparent to the coaching staff that you didn't do a good job. Two, we fall from our Army Ride to our Navy Ride immediately.